Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. I am live this morning with Dr. Juliet Nevins, and she's going to talk to us about the mother load. And I know some of you are like, what is that? Or some of you are like, I know intimately what that is. What she's going to do is she's going to talk to us about how that affects women and their families, what we can do to reduce the stress in our lives. Because if mommy has stress, the rest of the family has stress. But first, if you have a question or comment and you're joining us live this morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, please place it in the comment section and Dr. Nevins will answer your questions live on air. It'll be helpful and she'll also address any comments you have. So let's talk about all the things mothers do, the crazy lives we manage, and how that produces our stress. Juliet, thank you for joining us this morning.
It is my absolute pleasure to be here, and I thank you so much for the opportunity to join you and the audience with this really wonderful and important topic.
Great. Well, let's just jump right into it. What is the mother load?
So I always start with this preamble. We all know what it is, right?
Yeah.
And every mother has their own mother load and can define what the mother load is for her or for herself.
Mhm.
Um, the mother load is basically us standing in the center of all the activities that we need to do, right? Our children, managing and maintaining our relationships, whether we work in or outside of the home, we have to manage that as well. And all the little things in between that. One of the really important statistics that a lot of people don't know is that women control healthcare, right? We take the children to the doctors, we make those appointments. We do that for our spouses and significant others too. During the pandemic, even though everyone was home, 65% of the household work was still being done by one person, typically the mother. So, I can give you large categories, but if we all think about the little things that make up our day in terms of the work we have to do, that's the load that we're carrying. And it's configured a little differently for every person, but as I said at the top of my comments, we all can define it very, very clearly for ourselves.
Thank you for that. So now I imagine everybody has a different load bearing amount.
Hmm.
Everyone can only take but so much, but whatever so much is different for each person. So how do we
Absolutely.
identify when we've reached our capacity?
Listen to your body, right? Listen to your body. I think what I have learned as I have sort of become more wizened and older is that my body speaks to me. It's my job to listen, right? I know when I've gotten to that point. I feel it, right? That's when I'm eating ice cream at night or I'm yelling because, something silly happened. And I know it's because I've reached my threshold and I need to scale back. I need to start using my power word. No, that's my power word. I need to start being active in terms of scaling back the load, taking some of the poundage off, and doing some self care, some replenishment, some cementing of my foundation, if you will. So we all feel it, we know it, and just I'm going to push ahead and segue into something that is near and dear to my heart is that stress, that ongoing chronic stress that we ignore
Mhm.
leads to disease. It just does.
Okay.
All right. And when I say disease, I'm talking about obesity primarily. And then, of course, that feeds into other things, right? That feeds into hypertension, that feeds into diabetes. If you are a woman who's still sort of giving birth, it's going to lead to all kinds of obstetric problems. So it does cause this chronic inflammation in the body. Your stress hormone is always up, and that is just not healthy. But we know that it's happening. But I think what I'd like everyone to get out of this conversation is don't ignore it. Don't ignore those signs. Pay attention.
Okay. So, what are some physical signs of stress that we should not be ignoring?
So I'll
Before.
tell you, I have stress, right? And I do my meditation and I always try to pay attention to the signs.
Mhm.
I get insomnia. I can't sleep when my mind is racing. There are too many pots and I don't know which cover to put on or which cover to put on. So that's one thing that happens to me personally. The insomnia sets in, and then I have to really figure out how to ratchet back on my stress. A
Mhm.
few years ago, I had an arrhythmia, right? My heart was skipping beats, and it really bothered me. And even though I understood what it was so scary for my heart to stop beating, even for that half a second.
Mhm.
And of course, I went to the cardiologist. He did an echo, and he said to me, "You need to meditate. You need to take deep breaths." That was his prescription, right?
Interesting.
Right. So I broke my ankle, and I stopped having my period. I was in my 20s, right? It just went away until I sort of healed, and the excitement of having surgery and all of that sort of wore off. But
Mhm.
again, listen to your body. So,
Mhm.
insomnia, arrhythmia, if you sense that you are eating more, you're self soothing with
Mhm.
things that you shouldn't self soothe with, alcohol, food, and cigarettes, right?
Mhm.
That is a sign, right? Because you're observing your own psychological response to stress. So, again, we have different bodies, we have different thresholds. And when we start doing things that are not aligned with self care,
Mhm.
or when we have symptoms that tell us that our self care is sort of not working, or the load is too heavy,
Mhm.
again, we each need to pay attention to that because we all know what it is for our own bodies. But I just wanted to give you some concrete examples
Yeah.
that I have to manage in my life.
Okay.
Mhm.
So let's get into the nitty gritty. You are the primary parent in your house, maybe the only parent in the house. What are some helpful tips for how you can unload some of this that you're carrying? You look around and you don't see anybody else there.
Well, I tell you, delegate,
Mhm.
right? And delegate doesn't have to be punitive.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be considered sort of militant or angry, right?
Mhm.
It can be done with kindness and love for yourself and for others,
Mhm.
right? So delegating means asking the child, pick up after yourself and put all of those toys away so
Mhm.
that after I'm done cleaning up the dishes, I don't have to do it,
Mhm.
right? It means asking your spouse, partner, significant other, whoever, listen, I need you to pick up today, because I just need an afternoon off. But
Mhm.
I think, you and I talked about this.
Yeah.
We don't speak up, right? We suffer in silence. We don't ask for help. We have this sort of, I'm the strong woman, I'm going to bring home the bacon. And what was that song?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
exactly.
the commercial. Mhm.
Right. And I think, we need to delegate. We need to ask for help. We need to acknowledge that we are vulnerable, that we're
Mhm.
human beings, and that we need help. So have the child chip in, have your partner chip in. In corporate America, they're all about authenticity and being transparent. Okay, put your money where your mouth is, right? I need this half a day off.
Mhm.
Or my son needs me to show up for Halloween. I need this 3 hour block to go to school,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And no, not every person is in a position, a role in terms of working outside of the home that will accommodate that.
Mhm.
But we should ask for it. We should look for ways that we can get that sort of level of grace in our work lives, as well as in our lives at home. So, using your voice with love for yourself and for others to say, this is what I need. Don't assume that people know what you need, and don't ask them to do it the way you would do it either, right? So ask for help and then let go.
And then let go.
And then let go.
And then let go. That's the hard part because we've all asked for help and been disappointed, and then we stop
Exactly.
asking, right?
Exactly. Right? So
Yeah.
when I ask you to chop up the chicken, Yes, it also means I need you to clean up the chicken juice. Don't leave the raw chicken juice on the counter. Okay? But I'm gonna take it. The chicken is chopped up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So ask for help and then let go. We hold the reins a little too tight because we take our role so seriously. And to some extent, we want to carry that load. We want to prove that we can do it. And that
Mhm,
is not necessary. And that
mhm.
is not self-love either.
And I think that that's a generational difference. When we had the pregame conversation and
Mhm.
this topic came up, it's because in your medical practice, you're seeing the results of this mother load. So although the mother load is not your practice, you are seeing the results of it when women come into the office.
Absolutely.
And so that's why we're
Absolutely.
having this conversation. And with our generation, we're trying to prove that we can lean in and do it all,
Right. Exactly.
as
Exactly.
opposed to previous generations where they were forced to.
Ah, yes,
There's
absolutely.
there's a difference
Yeah.
here.
Mhm.
Sometimes, and there's still some people who are forced to, sometimes, but some of us are doing it by choice, and we don't even know that we're doing this to ourselves.
Exactly. Exactly.
So let's speak to in our pregame, we had a conversation about using communities and stuff, which a lot of us are very skeptical about doing. If you don't have parents near you, if there isn't a participatory spouse or partner,
Mhm.
where do we go? Because it's going to become too heavy to carry at some point, and it's going to affect our health and possibly the health of our children, at least their emotional health, right?
Right. Well, it's good. I'm going to go back to my previous comment about acknowledging your needs,
Mhm,
acknowledging your vulnerability, and not being afraid of being vulnerable in front of other people. So I'm
mhm,
a single parent,
mhm,
and I'm a professional woman, so I'm very busy.
mhm,
Um, and I've asked teachers at my son's school, hey, are you available, since he knows you and loves you, to sit with him for 2 hours so I can do this?
mhm,
I've had neighbors say to me, if you ever need anything, and they say it in earnest with passion,
mhm,
right? And I haven't called them yet. No, and I should because
yeah,
they're here.
yeah,
They want to help. They have given me their numbers more than once.
yeah,
Call me. I can help. I can chip in.
mhm,
So I think for a lot of us, and I think again, it's generational, in that there was a time when families lived close to each other. I think for a lot of people that has changed,
mhm,
especially since our cohort, we sort of moved away from the cities where potentially our parents are from. And
mhm,
I'm carving out people who grew up in the suburbs, but you get the gist of it.
yes,
But across the board, I find that, children no longer live within 30 miles of where they grew up.
yes,
But having said that, a community does not have to be a community center. It doesn't have to be um, a place where you bring the kid where you have to pay.
mhm,
Look around you, get creative.
mhm,
Certainly, we're all concerned about safety, right?
mhm,
We're not going to just leave our children with anyone, and we're not going to have anyone come into our home. But if you look around you, again, we have the beauty of being of the mother load is
mhm,
that it has groomed our spidey senses,
mhm,
right?
yeah,
So we know, where there's safe areas, what we can use, who we can lean on. I think it's us. I think we just need to ask for the help and access the
mhm,
help that is right around us.
mhm,
School, community centers, neighborhoods. If your kid is on a basketball team, other parents,
mhm,
right? Whose job or and when I say job, in or outside of the home,
mhm,
if your schedule is staggered and they can assist, ask for it.
yes,
The only difference, they might say no, they might say yes.
they might. Just one tip that I found helpful
Hmm.
when our youngest was little. Um, he had two good friends, and he had two sets of friends,
Hmm.
and then he was the third one, and they all went to different schools. So what the families did is we arranged play dates, but we did on Friday nights, right?
Hmm.
And we took turns hosting. So you knew every third Friday you
Yeah.
had a break.
Yes.
Whatever you needed it for, you
Yeah.
had a break. When they were old enough, they became sleepovers, but in the beginning, it was just a stack of hours that
Mhm.
you had. So
Yeah.
that's an idea, and these were, people that you knew, et cetera, et cetera. But we had to formalize it and ritualize it, and it really, really worked.
It does work. It does work. Don't mother alone,
Yes.
right?
Don't mother alone. I
Don't
love that.
mother
So
alone.
remind people, if you have any questions or comments, put them in the
Mhm.
comment section.
Mhm.
Juliet, why don't you tell us what you're seeing in your office? I mentioned that this conversation topic came about because you mentioned that you are seeing the results of this. You were hearing from women when they come into your office. So why don't you tell us what that experience is like?
So I moved away so that we're clear in terms of my status now. Right now, I transitioned into corporate America
Yeah.
as of December 2020. However, in the labor floor and in the office, I spend a lot of my time just listening and being the person there to hold someone's hand when something has gone wrong, right? And you see that, I think, more often in the office. And certainly by the time they get to the hospital, you're seeing necessarily the consequences of accumulated stress, right? And disease. But in the office, there's a lot of women who are suffering from anxiety, depression. Women who are menopausal are even more susceptible to those diagnoses because of the hormonal fluctuations and their inability to access management that serves them well at that period, right?
Mhm.
So, and when I say access management, I mean sleep, exercise, nutrition, meditation, and medication if that's the route you want to go to,
Mhm.
for women in that area. But there's a lot of untreated anxiety and depression in women. And I would say throughout the ages, late 20s into sort of the menopausal age. And I think women come in with physical, in addition to psychiatric and psychological symptoms. Again, the irregular periods, the weight, the hirsutism, and there's an underlying hormonal imbalance that goes with that. But the stress adds to it, right?
Mhm.
The smoking and the inability or unwillingness to stop, even if you're pregnant. I see that a lot, right?
Mhm.
Certainly there's the alcohol. But I think also the undiagnosed diabetes and hypertension are the two that worries me the most. So in my current role, I look at all the cases that come in for people who are really, really sick.
Mhm.
And last week, I was sitting at my computer and I was near tears, right? 46 years old, undiagnosed diabetes, went into the hospital, lasted 5 days, died, right?
Mhm.
And so the mother load necessarily, and this is the danger, we talked about using your voice, finding your community, um, not being afraid of being vulnerable and being, standing in your truth in the presence of whomever. But I think also the mother load necessarily means not taking care of yourself,
Mhm.
right? So use your voice,
Mhm.
don't mother alone, and don't or stop not taking care of yourself, right? You need those breast exams, you need those mammograms. And in the pandemic, there has been a lot of delay of care,
Yes.
right? Get those things done. Get that mammogram, right? Get your A1C, which is and your fasting glucose done. Get your GYN exam. Get those things done. Get them in, right?
Mhm.
Um, and that's a time where you say to whomever, I need a 4 hour block. I need to take care of myself. Okay. I and I can give you examples of it. I mean, I have a friend, didn't go to the primary care doctor, ran out of medication. So now this person is taking the hypertension meds every other day.
Mhm.
Right? That doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? And I think a lot of people do not realize unmanaged hypertension increases your risk of strokes and heart attacks. All right. You got to manage that blood pressure. That is why it's called the silent killer. And I get very personal on these calls, and it's okay. So I was diagnosed with high blood pressure. I didn't know. I felt it. I felt I would get so mad. I was so stressed. My head felt like it was about to explode.
Mhm.
And then one day I was leaving work. I was leaving the labor floor, and I said to the nurse, "Can you just check my blood pressure?" And it was really, really high, right? Because I'm preaching to you because these are things that I'm guilty of that I'm working on myself. Right? I felt it. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't check.
Yeah.
Right?
So what should we be doing? You mentioned meditating, you mentioned making sure you have all of your annual visits, make sure you have your mammogram. What other stuff, especially when we talk about self-care, realistic stuff? As you mentioned, you're a single mom, so you know that
Mhm.
not everybody can take a 3-day spa break for
Right.
various reasons.
Right.
So
Right.
some realistic stuff that we can do that can help us manage these symptoms and the stress in our life, in addition to learning how to delegate and let go.
I'll tell you two things that I do. Right? I can't take 3 days off, but I can take 6 minutes to meditate in silence.
Mhm.
And just the quiet and the silence helps to sort of level set, if
Yeah.
you will. And the app that I love, everybody, I mean, there's so many out there, but I love the Deepak Chopra app
Okay.
because they have short 6 minute, 7 minute meditations on different topics every morning. So before I leave my bedroom, I just stop and I just still myself and I say, I just try to not think about anything for 6 minutes.
Mhm.
And it does wonders for my peace of mind and my day. The other thing is I schedule my day and I look at it and I'll say to myself, is this realistic? Can I get all of this done? Because if I don't get it done, that's when you start beating up on yourself, right?
Yes. You can feel the stress build
Exactly.
over that to-do list.
Right. Well, was your list realistic in the first place?
Never. It never is.
No, right? Stop it. So I would say, make realistic plans for your day,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And start your day out with just 6 minutes of self care,
Mhm.
right? I used to use another app where the meditation was a half an hour. It was too long.
Okay.
I like that one because it's 6 minutes. I can just start my day out peaceful, centered. I
Mhm.
remind myself of all the things I need to do for me. And I remind myself that without me, everything around me is going to fall apart.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And that's the added stress, because then you get stressed and you start going, and we go in
Exactly.
the wrong direction. What we should do is when we feel that and think that,
Right.
take the 6 minutes. And
Six
everybody can give
minutes.
6 minutes. 6 minutes is good.
Yes,
Half an hour starts to stress me out because now I'm moving things on the schedule. It has half an hour.
exactly. Exactly.
This
And do it before you leave your room. Because once you walk out the door, right, it's
Yes,
over. Right?
yes,
Before you
yes,
leave your bedroom or your sleeping space.
yeah.
Um, but I think, and it's a practice. I just want to, it's not going to happen tomorrow.
Okay.
But start little by little. And then the more you do it, and the more that you feel, wow, this works, this really calms me down, this really helps, you'll do it the next day.
Yeah.
Right. And then it builds and builds into a habit that will help you to sort of maintain your sense of peace. And that's my goal for 2022, right? Cutting the fat, eliminating anything extra, really focusing on peace. I just want to have peace. I just want the craziness in my brain to slow down.
Mhm.
And I'm working really hard on my power word. No, no, I can't do that. I'm sorry. you know, that's my power word. And I say it with love for you, love for myself, because I don't want to do something that I can't do and then I'm
Yeah.
stressed and or I don't do it well or I'm resentful.
Yeah.
So my no comes from a place of love for you and love for myself. So we've disseminated a lot of pearls,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Use your power word, no, right? Take 6 minutes for yourself.
Mhm.
Make a realistic schedule.
Mhm.
Don't mother alone,
Yeah.
right? And pay attention to your spidey sense when it tells you you're abutting that threshold where it's just too much. And now it's really time to start saying, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. Peace. I'm out. I'm going to get a mammogram, even though that's not necessarily fun, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. And I'll add, adjust your expectations, because
Yes.
everything doesn't have to be perfect. And there are some things that we expect to be perfect. A lot of us keep a perfect home because we can control that, right? We can't control it. It doesn't have to be. I get a guest are coming, but you can find a comfortable base level. That's good enough for every day.
Right. Exactly.
It's going to feel a little, your eyes going to twitch a little bit, but after a while you get comfortable, and you will have freed yourself of some time and some stress, and the people around you too, because if they're always, careful not to mess something up, then they're not being themselves too.
Exactly.
I learned that when I learned that living in my house. It's the frat. We call it the frat. That's just what it is. And what I did is we compromised there was one day when it was clean, and they had to leave it clean the way I liked it for 24 hours. So I could just bliss out in that. But I knew it wasn't going to stay that way.
Right.
Have to live like that. And that was our compromise with little kids in the house.
Yes, you have to let go. I mean, and that's really hard for me, but I'm learning to do that as well. Right? I walk past my son's room and the bed is not like made up. So I'm just like, leave it, close the door, but just don't touch it. Right? You'll get used to it, and he's happy and he's warm at night. So that's really all that matters.
This has been wonderful. Thank you. If there's just one thing that our viewers remember and nothing else from our conversation, what should it be?
Everything revolves around you.
Okay.
Everything revolves around you. That's what the mother load means. So take care of yourself, or you will not be able to hold it up. Right?
And that's what brings us stress, because everything revolves around us, but we forget that other portion. So take care of you. Right. It's true. You are right.
Right.
So take care.
So if you don't keep it together, and keep it together doesn't mean keeping it in, right? It means taking good care of it.
Taking good care of it. I love that. Not keeping it in, taking good care of it. Thank you so much, Juliet. This has
been so much fun.
Thank you. For our listeners, thank you for listening and watching. We have some information in the comment section. Please access that, and please take your 6 minutes before you leave the bedroom every day. Try it for 21 days before you say that's not working for you. Because it takes days to make a habit. So try it for 21 days before you say it's not working for you. And also, please join us tomorrow when we are having coffee with Jen and Sharon, same time, same place, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, on our Facebook Live, our Twitter Live, and our YouTube channel live. Hope to see you then. Thank you, everybody.